And we're live. Welcome to the Lakers Late Night Podcast. I am Leonardo. I am joined by a ketchup bottle / traffic cone. How's it going, Harrison?
Yeah, I decided to go as the Lakers defense for Halloween this year. So it was it ended up they gave me a pretty good night to do that tonight.
that was well timed on our part. It's crazy how during the game you had the foresight to go run to a traffic cone store, pick up a traffic cone costume, throw it on, and then sit down here right now.
What do you mean had the foresight? You told me to do it.
All right, I'm going to pat myself on the back. I forgot.
You said I was fired if I didn't do it. Got power hungry up in here.
You know, sometimes it's just for the betterment of the show, and that joke, while maybe being rehearsed, was phenomenal.
Hey, this thing is really heavy on my head. Can I take it off?
Nope. Take one for the team. You think I enjoy these classes?
All right, you have to keep yours on the whole show then. We are serious journalists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, Mom, Dad, thanks for the trip to college. So, all right, we'll go ahead and get into the game. Look, like I said yesterday, comedy comes from a dark place, and if what we're doing right now makes people smile even just a little bit after that pathetic effort by everybody involved on the Lakers' end, all the better. All the better. That's what stands for.
I'm happy to play the clown. That's fine.
Follow my Twitter account for further examples of my clowning. All right, so the first thing I wanted to talk about in this game is I'm wondering if the opposing point guards having career nights against the Lakers is going to become a theme because the Lakers are playing a rookie and a sophomore at point guard and shooting guard. Do you think this is something that I can't even talk seriously right now? Do you think this is something that that will actually be have to pay attention to throughout the year?
Yeah, I think absolutely. I don't think that anybody projected Russell to be a defensive stopper this year, and Clarkson's shown some strides, but they're still going to struggle. And the reality of it is, if they're starting those two guys and Kobe Bryant, the wing defense is just going to be really rough. There's only so much Roy Hibbert can do to clean it up. So yeah, if you have any point guards playing against the Lakers on your fantasy team, that is a good night to start them.
I mean, that's all.
We have to be. There's no reason to think that Clarkson and Russell can't be a decent backcourt defensively eventually. But Russell's 19. He's not ready to do that yet. He's going to try. They're both try. They put in effort. They're game to go for it. But it's just not going to happen this year, or at least not consistently.
The thing I worry about, or I wonder, I mean, rookies tend to suck defensively. Like, this goes without saying. This is how this goes. Sophomores tend to suck defensively. Like, again, rules of the game. But what I start to worry a little bit about is a lot of times basketball players get their confidence from how they're playing on the offensive end. And if they continue to struggle the way D'Angelo Russell has struggled, not just from a physical standpoint, but you can watch him out there on the court, and he looks so timid. He's questioning everything he's doing. And then you have to think that's going to leak back onto the defensive end. And his counterpart in both these games, Ricky Rubio, went off for 28 points, 14 assists. Rajon Rondo tonight, 21 points, 8 assists. Yeah, you just got to hope that at some point he'll play with a little bit more confidence out there. Not that he's going to get it from Byron's coaching.
Well, just think about it. This is a little bit of a rehash from my appearance on the Ray Ray's Fundamental podcast yesterday. Mm-hmm. But think about it. He's a 19-year-old kid. He gets drafted 2nd overall by the Lakers. The first night, he's getting people tweeting that the Lakers made the wrong decision, that he's a bust, that they're going to regret it. They should have went with the big man. They should have went with the more pro-ready prospect. He goes out there, plays on a bum, I believe it was ankle, they reported later in Summer League, right? Mm-hmm. He goes out there, he plays on a bum ankle in Summer League because he's so determined to show people that the Lakers made the right choice. Doesn't play well. Commits, I think, 7 turnovers a game, if I remember correctly.
It wasn't pretty.
Does not have a good performance in very many senses of the word. And he plays really badly. Here's more bust talk. training camp. People are criticizing him, gets hurt in the second preseason game, brought off the bench, then is told by his coach repeatedly until opening night that he may not be the starter. Then he starts, but oh yeah, you're going to start at shooting guard, a position that you haven't played yet before. After that game, when you don't play very well and you barely get to touch the ball because you're getting used to playing off ball, something that, again, you hadn't been asked to do a whole lot during the preseason, and when your main NBA strength projects to be the pick and roll, at least as of right now, and then they walk it back, okay, you're going to be starting point guard. And, okay, yeah, you're going up against a guy that a lot of fans, for some reason, think that the Lakers should have signed and just drafted a big man because, we all need more Rondo in our lives.
It's just sports
Rant
in general.
over.
No, I agree with every single point you made. And all right, first part I was going to say is that sports are really mental and blah, 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 blah. Like that's going to be said throughout the season with all these rookies because of the confidence thing. The thing I start to worry a little bit about is whenever you hear Jalen Rose talk about how he came up through the league and if he was in a different situation and if different rookies were in different situations that they develop differently. And what I start to worry a little bit about is you look at a kid like Justice Winslow, who is surrounded by a complete winning environment, guys that are more than welcome to mentoring him. They are, he has a coach that understands what it takes to develop a kid. And then you look at what D'Angelo Russell is forced to grow up in, and it's the opposite of that. I haven't seen Kobe do too much mentoring. Byron Benton, he only played 18 minutes tonight, because the coach was sending him some kind of message, I guess. He finally got in with 4 minutes left in the game because I guess the game was finally out of reach, even though they were down by 20 the whole game. You just got to wonder at some point, like if I'm the front office, you're effing with the franchise's future by pulling this stuff, Byron. You just can't do that. D'Angelo Russell is just way too important for that. A couple bright spots before we get back to roasting Byron, because there's going to be plenty of time before he hopefully gets canned.
Well, before we move on, I was wondering if you wanted our usual press conference Twitter roundup.
Oh, let's go for it. Oh, goodness. I'm so scared of this.
So you ready for this? First thing, Byron on the Lakers defense. It sucked. Byron said he told the Lakers at halftime to man up. He's not happy right now. Quote, I just thought from the start of the game we were soft, end quote.
I honestly don't have anything to say. I called it during the game. I don't know if anybody was paying attention to my tweets, but I said that I can't wait for after the game Byron to call this team soft. When he played Ryan Kelly at center against Boogie Cousins and Willie Cauley-Stein, like you can't go ahead and cream these guys for mistakes they make on the court when you keep pulling that stuff. Like,
I mean, honestly, God bless Ryan Kelly. But in the first quarter, when I saw him guard DeMarcus Cousins for the first time, I knew that game was over. I think Ryan Kelly knew the game was over at that point. The jig was up for him.
I grew up. I was always a shorter kid. I entered high school 5'0", 100 and nothing, and I was always the smallest kid. And I remember specifically, in like 6th, 7th, 8th grade when the kids started actually growing, and I just stayed. I just stayed where I was, and I would go against bigger kids. And I remember, you try to play defense and you get your hand up, and they're just sitting there playing volleyball up against the rim.
Yeah, that's just like they're shooting over a chair, and you're like, no, I'm not bothering you. Am I bothering you?
Yeah. Eventually, I just punched him in the stomach and just kind of, that's all I could do. I competed, Byron, but
you weren't soft.
But there was a play late in the game where Willie Cauley-Stein posted up Ryan Kelly, and one drop stepped, and Ryan Kelly had nothing to do with it. And Cauley-Stein put the ball up against, missed his first shot, tipped it to himself, missed his second one, tipped it to himself, finally went up. And I just remember watching Ryan Kelly just thinking, I can relate, man. BTB, I've been there, bro. But it's a toughness thing.
Wait,
The
that's what
team played
BTB
tough.
mean?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that's not what I thought it meant.
What did you think it meant?
Not suitable for live on air on a family podcast.
NSFW.
No wonder I was always confused when people were saying that. Okay, never mind. I heard a very different definition from someone.
I can't lie, I Googled it at one point.
Yeah, me too. And Google gave me a very different answer.
Well, I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure it means BTB.
Fournier.
Yeah, don't do that, everybody. Just stay away from that one.
You will have a very spooky Halloween. Okay, this went off the rails. Go ahead and get us back on track, boss.
We're gonna get to the other guy who played. Well, we went back in time. We're gonna stick with Clarkson here, and the game he played. Statistically, I mean, it's tough to really hammer anybody's stats. The one thing I'm going to say about Clarkson's game in general is that he appears to be more comfortable on the ball. When either he or D'Angelo Russell play off the ball, they both tend to just kind of fade into the background of the game. And I'm wondering if at some point that's something that the franchise starts legitimately getting worried about.
Yeah, it's like you do have to ask the question eventually, is it a problem that they both seem more comfortable on the ball? But I think that with their skill sets, they can eventually develop. We're 2 games in. Tonight was a really bad night. It's not the time to make sweeping decisions about organizational and roster fit.
I would agree. I would say
that. No, I do agree with you that eventually it could become a concern, but I just think that we need to give it more time.
I think it would be more of a systemic than actual personnel concern. I'd be more worried about them. Like if Mike D'Antoni were still here, I would be a lot more comfortable about both guards' development and ability to play next to each other than with Byron Scott's. I turned on the game today. I think I joined the game about 2 minutes in, and both possessions that I saw was a whole bunch of standing around trying to get the ball into the post. It didn't get into the post, and Kobe shot a long 3-pointer. And under which circumstances is that conducive to development within those two guys?
Yeah,
they didn't touch the ball, need to play.
So, and then at what point also does that start to really hurt not only the transition defense when it leads to long jumpers, but also just the defense in general when the Kings can kind of rest on that end and then they go up against the Lakers defense. It makes sense for Memphis to grind out the clock, grit and grind, play the post, run the entire 24-second clock, and then get back on defense. Because if they limit possessions in a game, they can win that type of nitty-gritty dirt/rock fight. But the Lakers don't have a good defense. So if they just let 4 guys on the other team rest the entire possession and then come down and they try to guard them, that's not going to really be conducive to winning a lot of games with this personnel.
And it's not even. I've been saying all preseason, all off season, ever since we saw what the roster might look like. I've never once cared about wins. I think in the roundtable that we had at Silver Screen and Roll, I said that predicting wins and losses is a stupid thing to do because you never know how things go. I didn't use the actual word stupid, but I mean that doesn't matter nearly as much as these guys' development. And if you're running an offense where a whole bunch of guys are standing around, you make the occasional cut, it doesn't look organized, and neither guy are really working with the ball consistently enough to develop, then that's way more harmful than the 60 losses they'll probably compile under Byron.
Yeah, so they'll not only torpedo their confidence, but they won't have the ball to gain anything good out of it. Exactly. Yeah, it's a problem right now. I don't know what happened. During the preseason, they were sharing the ball. I mean, it's not like the offense was fluid. It wasn't the D'Antoni Suns or something, but it looked a lot better. And so I don't know what's happened in the regular season now to where it's just turned into complete ISO ball. There's no movement.
Yeah, I think there's a regression to who these guys are. I think especially with somebody like Kobe, there's a regression to, hey, now the points count. I'm going after my records. I thought it was really telling that down 20 whatever points they were tonight, the Lakers official account was tweeting about Kobe tying and passing Shaq for field goals made. I thought that's as telling artistically as you're going to get about the intentions of this franchise moving forward. Now, I'm probably never going to get credentialed for saying that kind of thing, but I'm sorry, you can't not read between the lines there. You just can't.
I guess a little bit, but we also thankfully I don't think the social media guy is setting the overall goals for the franchise.
Okay.
Although that would be, I don't think that's Jim Buss on the account. It could be. I don't think so though.
Whoever came up with LaMarcus to LA, whatever that was. The other thing, or
Adam Levine.
The other player that I wanted to bring up that played well tonight was Nick Young. I think he finished with 17 points on 5 of 11 shooting, unless he made a couple before I signed off from the game.
You are correct.
I think it's going to be really interesting to watch him and Lou Williams kind of compete for that those same minutes. You know, those shooting, that scoring option off of the bench. They both play potentially different positions. We talked about this with Drew on our season preview podcast. But at the end of the day, it's a very similar role, especially when they're playing peak Lou and peak peak Young. What did you see from Young that made him successful tonight?
For a lot of it, he hit some catch and shoots, and I didn't see something tremendously different in shot selection. Tonight was a Nick Young night.
Mm-hmm.
He was swagging. It's going to happen every so often. For that one. But yeah, him and Lou have been playing alongside each other so far. I don't see why that's not going to continue. I think that they can play well together, but yeah, you start to wonder if eventually there's a trade coming up or not necessarily a trade but there could be, to clean that up.
We don't
know, but
if I was a contending team, I'd be interested in either player. They're both under very workable contracts, and they do things that really help playoff teams. That scoring.
Nick Young has shot phenomenally from 3 so far during the preseason, and I believe so far during the regular season. He was 3 of 7 tonight. That's good.
Yeah. So if I'm a contending team, and if I'm the Memphis Grizzlies, right, and I can't find a single person in the entire state of Tennessee to make a 3-pointer, I might call the Lakers and see what kick the tires on Nick Young or Lou Williams. Why wouldn't you? It just you need that pop. And
other than completely compromising their defense, but
yeah,
details.
Baby steps. Yeah, details and baby steps. Lastly, on the game tonight, I know we went about 45 minutes on the last game. That was a little long. So we're going to kind of, again, regress to the mean or get back to where we want these shows to get to. They're probably going to be around 20, 25 minutes.
There's honestly not 40 minutes worth of stuff to discuss tonight. There shouldn't have been 40 minutes worth of that game. They should have called it after the first quarter.
So lastly, we kind of hit on Byron. And it's, look, the knock or the one defensive Byron that you can always have, given the situation he's coaching in, is that he hasn't had a situation conducive to winning, right? Whether last year he had one of the worst Lakers teams ever assembled, and this year he's had a whole bunch of guys that have played together for maybe a month. So now, under those circumstances, you try to make best with what you can. But what drove me crazy tonight was seeing a bunch of young guys on the bench in a 20-point game while veterans were still trying to scrounge around stats. I didn't understand that move. What is there a light at the end of the tunnel with Byron, would you say?
It's really hard to say. He said some encouraging things in the preseason, but yeah, I don't know. We really don't know. It's not like he instantly torpedoes a good team, because we saw him have some decent teams in New Orleans and with New Jersey. But I think that I've said this, a few times before, but the type of team that he's best suited to is a group of veterans, it seems like, that already kind of know a lot of the detail-oriented stuff and really just need a motivator. Because if there's one thing that he has... Huh?
I was gonna say, and have no problem with being thrown under the bus, but go ahead and continue.
Yeah, well, one thing that we've seen is that he is pretty good at motivating guys. For all of our criticisms of his post-game comments, his players do play hard for him. Now, maybe they don't play hard in the greatest system. Maybe they aren't the most defensively up to the task team since he's been here. And you could say what you want about his rotations and schemes, but guys do play hard for him.
Yeah, it's like I said. On one hand, if I'm going to be completely fair, you have to bring up the situation he's coaching in. These teams are terrible. They aren't good teams, And
Yeah.
to expect, like, when you're talking about playoffs with terrible teams, that puts the coach's name on the line. I almost cussed there. That comes down on the coach when you have certain levels of expectations and they aren't met, and that's unfair to Byron. It is. Now, that being said, that doesn't mean you can't criticize certain things that he does. And it's like I said, those quotes after the game. If I'm playing for him, I'm saying, look, I know I'm making mistakes. There's a really good chance I'm making mistakes. I'm wearing a Ninja Turtle outfit. This is probably a mistake professionally. But you know what? I'll admit that. But if I have a coach who's telling me I just need to compete and compete and compete and compete, eventually I'm just going to, hey, coach, why don't you compete for a different job? And you can't help but feel that way if you have to take a bus off of your back after every game.
Yeah, well, that's the hard thing is if you're out there really trying and you are trying and competing and you don't feel like there's any issues with your effort, it's going to be tough for you to take that criticism. It's kind of, what could I be doing differently other than competing harder? Do you have any schematic changes that we need to make? Is there any different lineups that we can play? I want it. See, if it were me, I would want something a little bit more concrete than you just didn't try hard enough.
Right.
But maybe that's just me.
Well, and also
maybe he does give them more criticisms than that. But when you come out and you tell the media that, and those are the quotes that you're giving the media instead of kind of falling on the sword for your guys, I think that's also probably a little bit difficult to take as well, depending on your mindset.
And it's not even like he has to fall on the sword, which sounds incredibly painful. Just admit to, like, shout to Ryan Morton, but like, admit, hey, you know what? I maybe shouldn't have played Ryan Kelly at the 5 tonight. That was probably on me. I feel like admitting to faults every so often, while I feel like Byron sees that as a sign of weakness, and it isn't. It's a sign of strength, actually, when you admit to faults.
Yeah,
if I write an article for Silver Screen and Roll, and it is littered with typos and factual mistakes and stuff like that, and it gets posted, I'm not going to blame my editor. I'm not going to blame Drew. I would say, you know what? I effed up on that article. I should be better than that. I wrote an article this past offseason where I spelt Isaiah Thomas, the guy who plays for the Celtics. I spelt his name like Isaiah Thomas, who played for the Pistons back in the day and ruined the New York Knicks. When I did that, I admitted, hey, that's on me. I should be better than that. And it's not like by admitting that I did some terrible, like I'm now a worse person, or I'm a weaker person. If anything, it means my editor now understands, hey, this guy understands that if he makes a mistake, he should cop to it. And I think that's a respectable thing to do.
Yeah, and I agree. But as far as the throwing them under the bus thing and the criticism of these players don't feel like he's going to bat for them, apparently, I mean, I just saw a quote from Russell kind of filter through where he said he feels blessed by the support system on the Lakers.
Well, is he talking about Byron in particular, or is he talking about
blessed by support system? So I mean, I don't know, but Byron did kind of go to bat for him today earlier and say that he's not comparing him to other rookies.
Yeah. And again, it's tough because you look at the other rookies around the league, and D'Angelo is in probably one of the worst situations, would you say, other than maybe Jahlil Okafor. But even with Jahlil Okafor, nobody expects the Sixers to win because everybody trusts the process. # trust the process. You look at Emmanuel Mudiay. he's surrounded by other guys who can actually play basketball a little bit. You look at, I brought up Justice Winslow. You can go on down the list, and there are a few rookies in worse situations than D'Angelo Russell appears to be right now. And yet he needs all the support he can possibly get.
Yeah.
So that'll just about do it for tonight. Again, not much to say about a complete annihilation at the hands of the Sacramento Kings. It's safe to say when you're looking at the Lakers in respect to the rest of the league, and I'm looking at Harrison, who is dressed as a certain condiment, that the Lakers are playing catch-up with the rest of the league.
I knew you were going to make a pun related to that, and I've been waiting to steal it from you this whole time, and you finally got it. I was going to throw it in at the end. But on that note, I did two notes at the end here. So first, according to Elias, the 80 points in the paint by the Kings are the most in the NBA in the last 20 years, so that's encouraging. Additionally, I can't believe that we just made it through a 20 to 25 minute podcast where we made serious basketball points about the on-court and organizational structure of the Lakers while dressed as a Ninja Turtle and a ketchup bottle.
Those are both really good points. I can't lie.
We both still have Grantland, or we both still have jobs, but Grantland got canned today, so I don't know what's going on. Shout out to Grantland. Seriously, that's a bummer. That was arguably my favorite website right now, other than the wonderful Silver Screen and Roll, which you guys should check out. But other than them, Zach Lowe, Bill Barnwell, those were two of my favorite writers going right now. And Network, Jason Concepcion. Just a lot of talent over there, and that's going to land on their feet. But
I've been fortunate enough to meet a writer or two from Grantland or get to know them, I guess, via DMs and text back and forth and emails and stuff. And
name dropper.
Well, okay. But the I guess the most disappointing aspect of that entire situation was how it was handled. You had a whole bunch of guys and girls learn, it seemed like via Twitter, that they'd been laid off or that the site had been suspended indefinitely. And that was tough to see. So I agree completely with you. Everybody who worked at Grantland is exponentially more talented than you or I.
So are you saying we have some catching up to do?
Oh my God. So I thank you for bringing that up, and best of luck to everybody involved with that project. It's part of the reason I got into this business. It's a huge inspiration. It was when it was initially brought together. It was while it was going. It will be forever. So that was a tough blow to everybody who enjoys good content on the internet.
Yep. All
right. So the next game coming up is on Sunday. The Lakers play the Mavericks, I believe.
It's true.
This is true. This is factually correct. And we will be right here afterward. I will no longer be dressed as a Ninja Turtle. Harrison will no longer be dressed as a ketchup bottle.
Well, hey, I don't know. If they give up 80 points in the paint again, I may buy an actual traffic cone and put it on my head. So
it would be so great if you just you just lowered your camera down and I just spoke to a traffic cone the whole time.
And we have guesting tonight, the Lakers defense.
So what did you think of? Okay, anyway. Good point. Yeah, we'll be back here on Sunday. Thank you very much, Harrison, for joining us. Everybody, I do want to say we have Friday night, Saturday night of Halloween activities. Please be safe out there. Have a great time. If you do partake in adult beverages, please hop in an Uber, a Lyft, a cab, get a DD. Please be safe out there and enjoy your weekend. We'll talk to you again on Sunday evening.
Happy Halloween, everybody.